Just as a comparison, guys, like I love the Thelon Basin, I love the Athabasca Basin, but let's bring it down to earth. There's a lot of money that needs to go into exploration in general in any mineral, any economic mineral, in order to really find the goods. And just one little note that I want to plant a seed in people's head, because the Athabasca Basin is so popular, there are almost too many options as an investor. With the Thelon Basin, it's only really a handful of companies, maybe two, three, and two of them are very serious ones, and they're actually finding the goods. The upside is there because the Thelon Basin is so geologically analogous to the Athabasca Basin. And the companies that are brave enough to be out there exploring this thing, they're going to be top of mind when something is found. And so just keep that in mind. Hello and welcome back to the Next Big Rush. I am here again with Dr. Rebecca Hunter, who's going to tell you all about, and I'm going to get straight into it. Forum Energies just put out a press release talking about elevated uranium in the Thelon Basin. And people are looking at the ppms and wondering, what does that mean exactly? What is the context? Why does it matter? Why is it good? And what are the next steps? So one topic at a time. What is the meaning, Rebecca, if you don't mind, into the ppm reading, the parts per million readings of the uranium that you found in the Thelon Basin?
All right. Yeah, so I mean, sandstone typically is very low in uranium. And so if you look at just unaltered, nothing in it sandstone, you're looking at 0.5 ppm to 1 ppm. And so as an exploration geologist, even long before now, but when we were looking for really subtle anomalies in the Thelon Basin, anything over 1 ppm is a bit exciting. It's like, okay, something's going on. So you definitely have some sort of fluids that have moved through that have some uranium, and that's a significant. So any with Loki, I think we have 30 ppm, and at IRA we have even higher. We have 70 ppm, and so what's exciting about that is that it's an order of magnitude higher than what basically background sandstone is, and so that's why it's exciting. It means that uranium fluids are moving in that area, and actually at that level, because I'm getting excited anything over 2 ppm, like as far as looking at, okay, something's going on, I need to do more drilling. 30 ppm, 70 ppm, I mean, that potentially has something proximal to something very interesting.
Very cool. So just for the noob heads, when it comes to geology like myself, there is a massive difference in drilling the actual ore body, right? The stuff that you're going to finally mine and what kind of ppms you expect from that, which would have to be much higher for this region or any region. And there is something completely different to what you're doing, because you are trying to, first of all, figure out where in the world this thing is. You have a massive land package. Very much, it's, I guess, a mixture of greenfield exploration with a known uranium jurisdiction, which, kind of brings a different spice to it. So the uranium's there, there are deposits around the area, but you could be on the door of an extremely large or high grade or both ore body. And for you to get to that, you need to do the work that you're doing now. And the hints around it are showing higher than you would expect uranium. Is that kind of what we're getting to here?
Exactly. Yeah, it's looking for clues. And when you're greenfields exploration, it's subtle. So Loki, for instance, there's two previous holes in the Loki. We didn't have a good understanding when I drilled it first where the gravity anomaly was. I was kind of targeting structure and magnetic low. I was kind of testing a different thing. And then later we got the gravity, which is kind of just on the outside of the gravity anomaly. But we drilled these two holes. They had basically up to 2 ppm. uranium. So nothing that exciting, but a bit exciting. And then it had a bit of that kind of bleaching. So we look at that alteration, that kind of where you get the whiter rock. Um, and so to me, that was just basically put a pin in it. I want to go back because obviously something's going on. I'm not quite there yet, and that's why we went back and then hit even better. And Ira is the same thing. Again, we have a few more holes into Ira throughout the whole anomaly. It's a bit of a tricky anomaly because the sandstone part of the grid is covered in sandstone, part of it isn't. So there's obviously a big fault running right through the anomaly, and then there's multiple other faults. But again, lots of elevated uranium, so 2 to 10. So in the previous holes, the highest ppm in there was 10. So that's an order of magnitude higher than background. And so now we have 70. So yeah, it's all about those clues. You're basically honing in, and that's one of the things that's hard about our Aberdeen project in general is because we have this very green fields, which I think is I call it the blue sky, and I think it's really where I want to be targeting most for all these like a real true kind of unconformity contact deposit. But then we also have mineralization at Kavik and Tadagak as well that we can expand and could be, decent little deposits in their own right.
Yeah. So you went through a drilling campaign where you were able to, drill a few holes. And actually, tell us about that. Like, how much were you able to do in the last drilling campaign? And most importantly, what did we find out that we didn't previously understand?
So the objectives were kind of three things. Was Tadagak, get back to Tadagak, drill more, expand, find more. Kavik was just to get back there, see what's there, drill it better. And then the other three that we just released was to get into these blue sky and demonstrate that we have the potential for these potentially more massive unconformity contact deposits. And so Tadagak, we basically did that. We expanded it a bit to the west. We showed some more structural complexity, which will help us kind of chase down potential more zones right along the Tadagak faults. And then we hit potentially a new zone to the north. So that was probably the most exciting thing that came out of Tadagak was that we potentially have another pod of mineralization 300 meters north of kind of where we know we have mineralization. So just basically shows the scale and potential of just Tadagak alone. And then the Kavik thing was to get back again, drill it at a bit of a better angle. So we're hitting all the structures because it's all these like steep kind of lenses that in previous drilling, which was my drilling, because we didn't really know what was going on. We were drilling very steep. And so you kind of, again, you have this problem where you can hit the mineralization really well, or you can completely miss it. And so that was what we did. We drilled it, showed that it has that crazy extent. It's 300 meters of mineralization and higher grade. So that was a bonus because before that, the highest grade that was intersected was 5%. So we've almost doubled that with our intercept this year. And then the blue sky stuff that came out in our press release this week, this is the big stuff. And so even when I was at Cameco, I think the big prize in the Thelon is if we can demonstrate if there's kind of that tier one deposit. So those deposits that are over 100 million pounds that are high grade in the Athabasca Basin, they primarily happen at that unconformity contact. And so that's the big prize with Forum. We have all this really great ground. We have the right corridors. We obviously have mineralization happening in the area. So we know that it's there. We know that the processes are there. And so now we have kind of all those characteristics. We now have it demonstrated in the sandstone that these processes are happening. So it's not just a basement system, it's in the sandstone. So that means it can be at the contact. And if it can be at the contact, we can find it based on the good geology that we have.
Awesome. So what are the next steps for, for unanswered questions? What are some of the geological questions that you'd like to answer in the next one to however many drilling campaigns?
I think the big thing And just kind of a strategy perspective, I think in order to really get kind of a critical interest in the Thelon, I think we have to show that it has that deposit potential, like a bigger deposit potential. And of course, that's even in the Athabasca, like you need to find big deposits if you're really going to get to the finish line, because that's just the way it is. It's the economics of all this. And the Thelon has that component as well. And so I think the strategy going forward with Forum, because we have such a good land package, is really to test. We have numerous gravity anomalies in really key areas throughout the property that have sandstone cover. And I think that's what I want to do is test that, is to actually see if we can find one of these bigger tier one systems in the Thelon. Because I think that's the game-changing thing. If we can do that, then we know it's there, and then we can put the Thelon on the map.
For sure, for sure. And just as a comparison, guys, like I love the Thelon Basin, I love the Athabasca Basin, but let's bring it out to earth. There's a lot of money that needs to go into exploration in general in any mineral, any economic mineral, in order to really find the goods and really find the goods that are going to be, company makers. And just one little note that I want to like plant a seed in people's head, because the Athabasca Basin is so popular. There are almost too many options as an investor, right? Because you have the eastern side of the basin where the actual production happens, and then there's the western side of the basin where the juiciest ore bodies have been found. And then you have everything in between. There's a few interesting things up north as well with the Uranium City and everything like that. And so it's like, okay, like how many of the 20, 30 different companies that are out there, like which one should you choose? And sometimes it's a little bit difficult. With the Thelon Basin, it's only really a handful of companies, maybe two, three. I only know of three. And two of them are very serious ones, and they're actually finding the goods. And the upside is there because the Thelon Basin is so geologically analogous to the Athabasca Basin. So, we're sitting here, chatting casually. This could be the hottest jurisdiction for uranium going forward, in the next number of years. So just a little bit of a thought that there is a massive amount of upside, possibly. And the companies that are brave enough to be out there exploring this thing, they're going to be top of mind when something is found. And so just keep that in mind. But going to the Athabasca Basin, you guys have some projects there as well. What's happening to those?
So the big one actually is we're drilling in our Northwest Athabasca project. And so that's at the very northwest kind of corner. So yeah, you're talking about there's projects everywhere within the basin. So ours is in the west and it's in the very northwest. And there's a little historical resource. It's not 43101, but a little pod of mineralization that was found way back in the 70s. And then, lots of smoke from the historical drilling. So Uranerts had at Cameco for a little bit and then Forum optioned in. And now we have an option partner that's helping fund this. And so, yeah, it's just a good little project, good geology, lots of smoke. And so I think we're getting in there. I'm excited because we have new ideas kind of on where to target, kind of based on all the, old work that's been done. So we're hoping to have some good news on that one too as we go forward.
That's exciting. That's so cool. Awesome. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming and chatting and giving us a little bit of context here about the Thelon Basin and all the different projects and targets that you guys are, focusing in on. Any kind of last words of what investors should keep in mind? Because you're on the company side and you get to see so much more than just the one piece of news that sometimes investors get without all the context. So is there anything that you say investors should be paying more attention to or less attention to give them a little bit more of an insight into the possibilities here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just to summarize what you brought up is that, Forum, the Thelon Basin again is kind of this emerging district. We're a first mover within it. And so we have just a lot of upside because we have a really key property with the right trends. We know the geology, or I know the geology because I've been doing it for a bit. And yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean there's so much upside to find potentially a tier one. And that's the thing, like in the Athabasca, there's about 16 really good deposits that have been found in the Athabasca. And in the Thelon, you got the same geology, you got everything going on that seems to be right. And you got, kind of one or kind of a little, the biggest one is a 60 million pounder. So it's just kind of a law of numbers. So we've got so much opportunity to find a big one up there. And so, yeah.
That's exciting. That coupled with the fact that every single time you go out there, you find more clues into, the big one. And also like you've hit some very interesting grade already, which is awesome. So there's something happening up there in the Thelon Basin. We don't know what exactly, but we're here to find out. I would highly suggest people, at the very least, add yourself to the watch list, get a little bit of exposure, just have have enough that you won't kick yourself when they find something big. I'm just gonna leave that out there because I've done that before. I've spoken to companies that I thought, I think they're onto something. Then I did not get, that little bit of cash that I had sitting in my account. I was like, no, no, no. I'll wait for whenever I get more cash or whenever there's something bigger, or whenever I have a real reason to bet on them. I knew of the upside, and they put out a press release just a month ago, and I think they doubled or tripled within like a week. So that there's a story in there somewhere. If you like something, if you understand the upside, get a little bit of exposure. It just in general, whether it's forum or any other, early stage exploration play. Don't don't let regret kick you in the butt. All right, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here with us and just explaining, giving a little bit more color to what you guys have just put out as news. Where can people find out more about yourself and the work that you guys are doing at Forum?
Yeah, I mean, our website, obviously. So we're on there. I'm on X at Uranium Huntress. We're on X too
Which
as
is an
Forum.
awesome nickname, by the way. Very fitting.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's probably the best way. Those, yeah, LinkedIn.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'll be catching up with you soon when we have more news, whether it's from yourselves or from your partners drilling up there in the Athabasca Basin or the Thelon Basin. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Take care.
Thanks, Abby.